From the Aishin Broadcast Studio, it's the Under the Radar podcast.
Elitek Vehicle Services, an LKQ company, is the premier sublet provider for mobile and remote diagnostic services.
Hey there, it's Jason Stahl with another episode of Under the Radar, and today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Elitek Vehicle Services, an LKQ company. Today I have two very special guests, John Spurr, who is the Regional Manager of Mackin's Auto Body in Portland, Oregon, and I also have Mark Lovell, who is the Elitek General Manager in the Northwest region. Welcome, guys.
Welcome. Hi. Thanks, Jason. Thanks for having us on.
Sure. And so my first question, John, when was it about when you started seeing vehicles come into your shop with ADAS features and you realized you needed to address that, whether fixing them in-house or subletting it out? When was that when you saw these cars coming in, you said, we've got to address this because these are safety systems and we have to repair the vehicle properly?
Probably, 2018, 2019, we started seeing more safety features on vehicles coming in, and we would always just send them to the dealers when the calibrations were warranted, whenever we replaced a blind spot monitor or front radar, if they had it. It was kind of just starting at that point. But towards the end of 2020, we realized that, we have enough work to justify bringing on some guys in-house to do calibrations at some of our facilities, some of the busier facilities. And then, 2021 is when we started doing some in-house stuff. But yeah, right around 2018 to 2020 is when it started just seeming to blow up. And towards the end of 2020 there, we realized, we got to be better at cycle time. We had to start doing some of our own.
So let me ask you, when you sublet it to a dealer, I've heard of many, many issues body shops have had subletting to a dealer. The dealer is actually farther behind the curve on ADAS than they are, they find out. Or they don't know the difference between a scan and a calibration. Did you have any issues working with dealers?
Certainly we did. In the area there, it's just like body shops, right? There are some that are really, really good at it and some that are poor, and then most that are just kind of in the middle or just kind of guessing and winging it. That's just was the challenge for us, and what really focused us on trying to do more in-house is because with the dealers, you can't take all your cars to the good dealer. You have to take the car that they specialize in. And so you get these ones where you take it to the dealer who does not take these safety systems as seriously as they need to be taken or as seriously as we take them. And so it was just, it wasn't something that we were willing to risk.
Well, the challenge too, Jason, is that there's a big difference between a dealership shop and the actual manufacturer of the car. So the access to the manufacturer specifications, the calibration procedures, and everything is an issue, because the assumption is that the dealership is the manufacturer, and the dealership is just another service center, with other vendors that are trying to do the same thing on the car. So the service levels vary as well too.
Right, that's a good point, Mark. I've heard that a dealer is an independent business and they run the way they want to, and it's not necessarily synonymous with the automaker, correct?
Right, really good point.
Yes. So John, you mentioned bringing it in-house. Was that prior to you reaching out to Elitek to do your calibrations and scanning and electrical troubleshooting, and did you find that worked or didn't work, and thus you wanted to seek another option, or how did that work?
So when we started doing some of ours in-house, it was just a team of two guys that went down, got some training, we got some tooling, got a van so they could go around to some of our more inner city, inner metro area shops. We were just kind of doing like a mixed bag. Some cars would go to the dealer. Some of our more outskirts area shops still had to send the cars to the dealer. We were using another local, smaller ADAS company that just had one mobile technician as well. So we found that it works, and we still have that team that does some of our own calibrations, but as far as just servicing all of our shops, we just found that when we started using Elitek, they were able to service almost all of our shops and just be a good complement to what we do in house.
So, what was the advantage to reaching out to a mobile diagnostic provider like Elitek versus, it sounded like you were doing a hodgepodge of things. You had in-house technicians
Correct.
who were doing things. You were going to a standalone calibration center. So now, is it all? Does Elitek do all your work, and does that make it more convenient versus doing this and doing that? And again, tell me the advantages of using a mobile diagnostic provider like Elitek.
We still do in-house at one location, and Elitek does all of our other locations for the mobile or the ADAS work, and we also utilize them for mechanical work. The benefit of that is just, they take on the challenge of staffing that we had with creating our own in-house team, and then they take on the challenge of staffing, hiring qualified technicians, qualified mechanics. They take on the scheduling. Like when we would send cars to dealers or another calibration facility or remote guy, you have to handle the scheduling, you have to move the cars, and it just creates a big, like the actual physical work of getting the car to the dealer takes time and people. And utilizing Elitek was great because you can schedule them in the app, online, over the phone. We utilize the app, and it's the easiest way to schedule. You just set it all up. You can take a scan of the VIN tag, and it just works pretty seamlessly on our end for scheduling.
The nice thing too, Jason, on our end is that it's a sublet vendor, and we have the resources, and we take on the liabilities as well too. So we can come in with 1, 2, or 3 techs at a time, depending on the volume of the shop. And, we can get that, the job done efficiently and effectively. And we can go in and do a mechanical job. And when we're done with that mechanical job, that same technician can stay on the same car and get the calibrations and the diagnosis done. If there's any programming needed, we can get everything done, one-stop shop. And, you send it to the dealer. You take human resources, 2 cars to drop it off, or a tow truck, and then you may wait 1, 2, 3 days, a week, 2 weeks to get it back. So that cycle time, that CSI, everything is condensed. It's a benefit to the insurance companies, benefit to the shop, the vehicle owner, everything around. So it's exciting on our end because we know what we bring to a shop like Mackin's, and John's smiling because it's like, I know we can come in there and what we can do for them, and then we just have to prove it, and then we get the results. So it's pretty cool system.
Yeah, that's great. So, just John, it sounds like you can call them, you can make an appointment online, or there's multiple ways. But what is the response time like? Like, let's say you needed them like every day of the week, and you just randomly call them on a Monday, Tuesday. I mean, would they come out that frequently? And what is the response time?
There are times where, when we're lucky enough, our team of regional managers is lucky enough to be able to go out to multiple shops in a day. Almost every shop you stop at, there's an Elitek van or 2 outside. So they're in our shops every day. And they say, I think the promise you guys make on your website and app is 48-hour turnaround time. I would say that in
24. Yeah, 24
is
hours.
what we experience. But if on Monday I were to do a request for mobile calibration, they would be out the next day on a Tuesday. And sometimes if you're lucky and they're there and you got one that just popped up, you can walk over to the technician and just say, hey, I've got this other one. Can you handle this today? And 95% of the time they do. Just
to be transparent, in the Northwest, we have a rainstorm, or we get snow in the wintertime. That changes, we're servicing many shops in the industry. I've got 6 technicians just in the Portland, Oregon market. And, sometimes that 24 to 48 gets stretched, but the biggest point of that is communication. We're calling John's managers every day. We're talking to his estimators every day. My technicians call with ETAs to let them know if we're delayed or not, to let them know. So they can plan ahead. They've got their own working process. So we need to let them know when to expect us.
Presented from the Ishin Broadcast Studio at Babcock's Media.
It seems like the calibration equipment manufacturers are making a big push for body shops to do this work in-house. The equipment's getting easier to operate. It's getting smaller. It's getting to the where they're promoting that you don't need all the space that is talked about out there truly, because most of the calibrations you're doing are forward-facing camera calibrations. There's a big push for that. So John, do you foresee that someday that you may not need Elitek services because you can do everything in-house? My guess is no, because Elitek is the expert, right? And they've done so much work now, remote diagnostic work, mobile diagnostic work, that they are truly way ahead of the curve of anybody in your shop that could do this.
And that's the thing that we like about utilizing Elitek is that's their business, that's their specialty, that's what they like. Mark and I always talk. His techs read up on this stuff in their free time. You know that we fix cars. They do calibrations and mechanical, and he takes on all the responsibility of the staffing of that, which is just really difficult for body shops to do. He takes on the hiring the qualified technicians, vetting them, making sure they're doing their job, responding to us if we have issues. They just handle a huge chunk of work that just is very difficult for body shops to handle.
You can buy all the equipment and put it in your shop and assign somebody to do the work that we do, but it really comes down to the people. It comes down to the technicians, the expertise. Our technicians within Elitek have 20 plus years of experience working on vehicles. They grew up in the ADAS community when it started. Their dealership that they worked at or their automotive shop that they worked at handed them the initial scan tool and said, hey, do a post scan, and a pre-scan. And then they've grown up learning that and doing diagnostics and programming. Those are the people that Elitek hires. I've got a shop that had bought into all the equipment and it just sits in the corner because the body techs that were supposed to do the work that we do weren't making enough money in the stall to do the ADAS at the end of the day. So, it's one thing to have it and ramp up, but it's another, is it cost effective to do it yourself? And it's much easier to have a sublet or a third party come in and just take care of it for you and move on to the next car.
That's a good point, Mark. We talk about it all the time in the magazine that this is complex stuff. It's not just plugging in a scan tool and clearing codes. Right. It's understanding diagnostic trouble codes. What do they mean? We call it chasing wires too. There's a problem. Electrical troubleshooting, electronic troubleshooting. Yep. This is a skill that is a very refined skill that not everybody has, and it takes a lot of experience and mistakes. How we learn in life from our mistakes more than anything. But this is a unique skill set, and the more experience you have, the more depth you have, and so this is, we're always talking about that to shops, that you can't just get this experience overnight, and it takes a certain aptitude among a special, talented, skilled technician to do this work.
So Jason, I have a scanner or a scan tool that I bought off of Amazon for $25, right? I can plug that into my car and I can read the codes on it, and then I can delete the codes, and 2 days later, it's going to come back on the dash. So I can be in a shop, and we're in many shops that have a third-party scanner that can go in and do certain multi-level things on the vehicle, and they can clear the codes, but they may not be able to do the programming. And then it comes to a point where they can't move any further or go dive any deeper into the vehicle. So it either has to go to the dealership, or it has to have somebody like Elitek come in that has OEM equipment and the people who can use that equipment to get that car back into pre-accident condition and put it back into a safe environment where, the vehicle owner has that car back the way they purchased it.
Yeah, and that leads to my next question, John. Customer satisfaction. Obviously, you own the repair, and when you deliver a vehicle back to a customer, you want it to be looking good, You want it to be clean. You want it to be dent-free. You want everything fixed on it, including the electronics. And if anything is wrong, God forbid you have a comeback, or the customer says, my ADAS systems don't seem to be working anymore, or my lane departure isn't working anymore. Obviously, you don't want that. So I think you referenced it earlier. Talk to me about what your relationship has been with Elitek as far as cycle time, customer satisfaction, and work quality.
So cycle time, it's helped us immensely because we don't have to deal with the challenges of getting a car to the dealership parking it in the back lot, and then getting to it when they have free time, and then calling us and letting us know it's done. Elitek comes out 24 hours. They get it calibrated. They help us whatever we need, and then they get it. We're able to deliver the car. They help us with our cycle time a ton. Get it, and then their quality is great. Like, not that nobody's perfect, but the true test of a partner with a business is not them being perfect. We're certainly not perfect. Nobody's perfect. It's how they stand behind the work, and if they stand behind us with our customers and with their quality of work. And their quality of work is great, and they're always here to stand behind their repairs if there's any issues.
I think part of that too, Jason, is the relationships that we have with John's managers. We go in and we build relationships with the technicians, the parts people, the estimators, obviously, the CSRs. We attend barbecues together. We build friendships. And, when something goes wrong because nothing's perfect, we work together for that solution and get it resolved right away and move on to the next car.
And that's really how we came to use Elitek more and more throughout the process. Is like we just started when they came to town, because they weren't always in our market. When was the time you came into market? A couple of years ago, 2 years ago?
Yeah, it's been a year and a half. Yeah.
Year and a half.
Yeah.
So they weren't always in our market, and they came around and we're like, okay, well, we'll add it to our hodgepodge of other, processes and vendors we were using. We're just like, we'll just start letting them do some of the calibrations when our team can't get to it. The managers and the estimators started to like the ease of scheduling, their timeliness when they would get out, their quality of work, the billing, and all that stuff. And then, so it just became sort of like a natural process to start using them more and more and more. And then the relationship really just kind of kept going into, we utilized their remote tool for our in-house pre and post scans and doing all that stuff. So we utilize them for their mobile, their remote, mechanical, everything.
That's a great point, John, because we have really, really two silos in our business: the physical mobile aspect of coming in and taking care of the customer face to face. But in those outlying areas like, Alaska for us, Hawaii for us, Eastern Washington, those areas, we have our remote tool that can go in, plug into the car, do scanning, programming, and that remote tool connects a shop that might be out in a small town, a rural town, connects them to a tech team that has all the OEM equipment. So there's tons of value and tons of resources available through not just Elitek, but our parent company is LKQ. So being owned by LKQ, we have a lot of resources in our background that allow us to translate that out to the collision industry.
On the remote side, so if we are scanning a vehicle and they're having trouble clear to code, they can't figure out quite what's wrong, they will schedule out the mobile team to come out to our facility. Yeah. They'll handle all that on their end. They'll just say, hey, we're having an issue with this. We really need somebody on site to kind of figure out what's going on. We've scheduled the mobile team, and they'll be out to you within 24 hours.
The standalone calibration center, there's more and more of these popping up. Some are nationally known, some are more regional. There's not enough to service the whole country yet. But talk to me a bit about the advantages between using a mobile diagnostic provider like Elitek versus a standalone calibration center. I imagine one of them is, you may have to, drive the vehicle to that place, and then anytime a vehicle leaves your premises, you lose control, possibly over the quality and the cycle time and all that stuff. But you tell me what the advantages are versus we're using a Elitek versus a standalone calibration center.
the biggest advantage is, like you said, the getting the car to the facility. It just takes a lot of manpower to either have two people drive a car down and another car down so you can drive it down and then go back and pick it up, or arranging a tow. I don't know how it is everywhere in the country, but if you up here in the Portland metro area, if you call out a tow truck, they're not going to come out that day usually. So even that creates, that right there, getting it down there and back, that's an extra 2, 3, sometimes 4 days. And just the biggest challenge is the staffing to make that all happen. And the benefit of Elitek is just the ease of scheduling, the quality of their service, the quality of their work, and just that they stand behind it and they stand behind us.
I think the big thing, Jason, is the cost reduction and the time reduction of having a mobile vendor, having Elitek come in. It doesn't matter what business you're in or what aspect of the collision industry you're in, insurance, body shop, vendor, saving time and saving money is the big draw, and bringing in the expertise, bringing in the right tooling, doing it on site, at the facility. There's nothing better than that.
And that's also, when you're talking about moving a car to and from a facility, when that's the struggle we had with our in-house team is when they have the van, they can only go to so many places during the day because they have to deal with things like traffic. We're not like a remote area where like you can have a calibration center and 6 shops feed it because the realities of traffic aren't there. But we have to deal with those. And that's what somebody like Mark, who has the amount of technicians in the area, so they can deploy to each of our shops in the metro area and each of our outskirts shops, that just it just makes that process so much quicker and more seamless.
Well, Mark and John, I can't thank you enough for your time today. I think we learned today, leave it up to the experts. You guys are the experts. Elitek's the experts. It's fast, efficient, and you're going to get a quality job. This electronic stuff is very, very sophisticated stuff. There's more lines of code in these cars than an F-15 fighter jet, is what I'm told. So, we're not Bill Gates, and we're not, name another computer expert. We're not computer programmers. Leave it to the experts. I think there's a lesson here.
Yeah,
correct.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you, guys. I'm Jason Stahl. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching this episode of Under the Radar. For more episodes, visit bodyshopbusiness.com.